Hi everyone, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Today on John's Briefs, back again with Tim Forshee. We recently had a really fun 12-gauge negligent discharge on the channel.
The ultimate negligent discharge, or close to it. Yeah.
That's a serious negligent discharge. Yeah. And I want to talk to an attorney about what it means to have an ND here in the U.S. Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, you can attend our monthly Active Self-Protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below. So, link in the description to the video in question. In a liquor store, 2 security guards armed with 12 gauges.
This is a liquor store, I'm not going to.
I mean,
if we have to have 2 guys with slung 12-gauge shotguns to guard the liquor store, I just think I'm going to head on down to the Walgreens. Thank you very much.
Now, okay, let's just take it out of that, though. I got to say, you know, the more dangerous the neighborhood, the better the tacos. And so, you know, danger tacos are a thing, right? And
that's
so,
certainly true in Arizona. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, some of my favorite places, if you're ever in Las Vegas, by the way, Tacos El Gordo, there are 3 of them. The one in the most dangerous neighborhood is the best. And there's usually a guard there after hours.
It's like where we enjoy our tacos and we just sit back to back.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, you've got to pay attention. So this guy just rips a round off. You know, he's got a long gun in front of his body armor and these things, and he's futzing with it.
With the Remington folding riot stock.
Yeah, the folding stock on it.
Even more points there.
Pistol grip, and obviously he presses the trigger, and off one rips. Thankfully, doesn't look like anybody got hurt. Looks like a bunch of people got scared.
Yeah.
But I think people think, oh, I'm good, when in reality, there could be some serious legal consequences here.
Well, in most states, and certainly in Arizona, that's a felony, period.
Wait a minute, explain how this is a felony.
Well, because it's in Arizona it's a class 6 undesignated felony. It's a class 6 designated felony. That's known as unlawful discharge within city limits. The parochial term that we use around here, the colloquial term, not parochial, is Shannon's Law, named after young Shannon Smith that died about 20 years ago in a horrible accidental shooting. And so, yeah, that's anytime you discharge a firearm in city limits in the state of Arizona, and it was not either A, to save a human life, or B, at a licensed facility that allows gunfire, it is a class 6 designated felony.
Now here in Arizona, a designated felony means you in trouble, fam.
Well, not only that, but this particular felony is deemed to be a dangerous designated felony, and that simply means, well, among other things, it has issues with regard to your sentencing, but it also means that you can never ever have that felony set aside.
Yeah.
So that means you will die a convicted felon. You'll be a convicted felon the rest of your life. So yeah, huge consequences to an ND, you bet.
Now, I also have seen, and I know, we had a fairly young lady who was a part of our dry fire group on Facebook, and we had some interactions with her. She was visiting Arizona, doing some dry fire in her RV, had an ND in her RV, went out of the RV, obviously, those guys, those are cardboard boxes on wheels, exited the property that she was on. She called the police to talk about it, and she ended up being charged with a felony.
Yep.
And then through much discussion with her attorney, was able to plea that down into a misdemeanor territory, but she still got that on her record and has had serious problems getting an apartment.
Yeah.
And problems with employment because of I think they pled it down to a disorderly conduct charge.
I've had pretty good luck getting it down. Arizona allows what's called an undesignated felony. So it's, you plead to the felony, but then when you successfully complete your probation, it retroactively becomes a misdemeanor. That's a pretty common outcome in these cases. But if the prosecutor decides for whatever reason, no, we're not going to do that, it's a felony. That's all there's. You can't go to, if you take that to trial, you're either going to be found not guilty or you're going to be found guilty. It's a felony. You're not going to have another option. So. But yeah, with good legal work and an appropriate prosecutor, unless the facts are particularly egregious, there's a chance that this would wind up as a misdemeanor. But it's still a criminal conviction involving a firearm, and it's going to show on your record. Exactly right.
And now listen, okay, when you have that happen to clients, how many hours of work does that take you to get to those levels?
It depends on the case. It depends on the prosecution, the jurisdiction. But
ballpark us?
I would say the average, if you're asking me the fee for that, I'd say the average fee for that's probably going to be in the $15,000 range, probably something like that.
Friends? You can buy a used car for $15,000. You could go on the whiz-bangest vacation you ever had for $15,000. Yep. You can, you can remodel your house for $15,000, or you could pay his mortgage.
One thing you mentioned that I'm not sure if you understood the gravitas of it was you said that the person that you met called the police on themselves.
Yes.
I would say I've probably had this case, again, I don't have data right in front of me, but I would say I probably handled this case 30 times over the years. So I probably had maybe 30 clients that got charged with unlawful discharge of firearm in city limits. And you always say, well, how did it come to the attention of police officers?
They called them.
Must have been the neighbors, right? And the neighbors heard a gunshot and they called the cops. And I always tell people, have you ever been laying on your couch watching television and you hear what you think is a single gunshot? Not a gunfight, but a single gunshot. And everybody raises their hands.
Sure.
And I say, and what did you do next? And I said, if you're like me, you hit mute on your Netflix control and you cocked your ear for about 7 seconds, and when you didn't hear a follow-up shot, you said, must have been a car backfiring, and you resumed your show, and you wouldn't even remember it 2 minutes later. The people that get arrested for this call the police themselves, because we are such law-abiding nerds, we are such honest, never had a speeding ticket people.
You literally tattle on yourself.
We rat ourselves out, and the police will reward you by ruining your life. So I'm sorry to say it, but honesty is not always the best policy. If you follow Rule 2 and you're certain that your round did not go anywhere outside of your home, did not injure anybody, you're certain it's buried in the baseboard of your kitchen, lay on the floor until you stop crying, and then get up and very carefully make sure that no bodily fluids stain your carpet as you go take a long hot shower, and shut your big fat mouth.
So listen, I mean, I don't even blame the cops on this. If you admit a Class 6 dangerous designated felony to me,
what are they going to do? They have to arrest you.
And so again, a patrol officer in Arizona, you just admitted a dangerous felony to me. I don't have discretion.
Yeah.
If it's a misdemeanor or a low thing, I can, probably go, hey, you already got enough punishment.
Right.
I'm not going to hook you up for this. But honestly, what patrol cop's going to have the fortitude to go, yeah, it was a felony, but no big deal.
Wink, wink.
It's just not going to happen.
Don't forget, guys, there's a huge difference between I know where the round went. The round is buried in the carpet in the corner of my bedroom, and there's a hole in the front window of your house.
Yes.
If this round left your house, you better call the police, because there's no way you're not going to get found out, and you may have just injured or killed somebody. Right. So get ahead of this thing, get the EMS on the way, call the police. But again, if you're certain, if it was an ND where you followed Rule 2, which is the only kind of ND anybody ever wants to have, if you're going to have one, then shut up about it. Yeah, exactly.
And I know Tim's wrong there, guys. It's rule number 1. Always keep firearms pointed in the direction of least consequence. We understand that. He's an old school Colonel Cooper guy, gun sight guy. It's okay. And listen, I just want you to recognize here from a practical perspective, and we're going to post this video as well in the Ask Dry Fire Challenge, which you should be a part of if you're not. And listen, every time you go to dry practice, and I dry practice regularly.
No ammo in the room.
Well, regardless of anything else, to screw this up is a felony.
Yeah.
If I screw this part up, it's a felony. So I have to be very careful with that. And there are 2 schools of thought. I know some people who say I want to take all ammo out of the room. I know other people who say when I'm using my carry gun, I actually want my carry magazine out in front of me so that I can see it and verify that it's out of the gun. I prefer the former to the latter.
Me too.
However you're going to do that, just recognize the difference between a felony and a great practice session is a little bit of negligence.
That's all it takes.
Just a moment of inattention.
Just think about it. I always tell people this, something this simple. You're thinking about something else. You're talking to your spouse. You're thinking about work tomorrow. And you get your sequence of unloading your gun in reverse. You take the round out of the chamber, then pull the magazine out. And then you dry fire your gun. Well, it's loaded. And that's all. I mean, literally, that is the type of an error that, we all make that level of an error 5 times a day. The consequences here are just so immense. Yeah.
So immense. And this is one of the reasons that in my personal dry practice is I use a barrel block. And that little thing that goes in there and blocks the chamber, it sticks out the front. Mine I trim so it's only that far so that I can see it. I verify it. I know my chamber's empty. There's 0 chance I can load it. So even if I put a loaded magazine in it, ran the action, nope, it's going to get stuffed up before it goes. This is my felony-proof device.
There you go.
This is my felony preventer. And if you do that, you give yourself little checks like that, and you mentally check, right? So this is that mental check of, let's not commit a felony today.
Let's go back and talk really quickly about the cop with the shotgun, though, because we're making a lot of excuses for him that don't apply. He wasn't dry firing in his living room.
No,
right?
no, he was truly negligent.
He had safety off of a shotgun. He had his finger on the trigger of a shotgun. And you mentioned in the video that, thank goodness, at least he had it pointed in a safe direction.
Yeah.
That was luck. I mean, I looked at the video again. That was the cash register area.
Yeah.
The fact that there wasn't somebody there ringing out a customer was pure happenstance.
Yes.
And yes, it was aimed down at a tile floor with double-aught buckshot. Those rounds, came right back off the floor, and they would have been lethal. So he lucked out on this thing. I mean, I don't know if he got in trouble at all, but wow. This could have been just simply a devastating. It's not like a 22 that, might have, unless it hit somebody in the brainstem, they'll probably be okay. This was devastating. Yeah.
Well, and listen, this is probably Central South America. I don't know how their legal system's going to do that, but the other part of that is unnecessary administrative gun handling gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
So when you're a private citizen, we've had him on the channel of the guy in the pizza shop who had the
in
Derringer in
with
his pocket.
In the pocket,
and
right.
ripped one off and shot his foot and then hobbled off bleeding and all those things. When you administratively and unnecessarily handle your firearms, these are risks that you take. You just, every time you administratively go, let's play with my gun, potential felony.
And that's one, I mean, gosh, I would say 80+% of negligent discharges happen during loading, unloading, dry firing, you know, as you said, administratively handling your gun.
Yep.
Keep it to a minimum.
Or just futzing around with it in your pocket, or just holding it and messing around with it. Yeah, it still has a trigger. Again, if it's on a sling is to a long gun, as a holster is to a pistol, leave it alone. Don't mess with it. It's being used to defend yourself and the people around you. It is not a toy to be played with. So these are serious issues, and I'm tired. I think in the dry fire group right now, we're up to, that we've heard of, I think about 30 negligent discharges.
Yeah.
And out of a group of 4,500, 5,000 people, and
That's
those
a
are
fair
the ones,
percentage.
those are the ones we've heard of,
Yeah.
right? So let's be much more cautious. And again, so Barrel Block is one of our sponsors. They are for a reason, because we use them, friends. Make sure that you know that stuff. Don't have negligent discharges, because felonies suck.
And don't call them accidental discharges. They're not.
There are such a thing as accidental. They're very rare.
When the malfunction is caused by the mechanics of the weapon instead of your brain, but they're almost always caused by the nut behind the trigger, right?
Yes, amen.
And everybody calls them ADs. They're rarely ADs.
When you inadvertently drop your SIG 320 and the inertia makes the slag and it hasn't been fixed.
When our good friend Alec Baldwin, when he has a gun go off when he didn't touch the trigger, then that would clearly be an accidental discharge.
Such a lie. Anyways, we're no liable intended here, but yes, don't do that. Okay, Tim, appreciate the knowledge, man.
Always, buddy. Thanks.